Let's fucking go. Alright. How's it going, everyone? So today, before starting, I just want to play a song. Gonna warm up a little bit. Gonna play American Idiot and, see how I perform. Yeah, let's go here. Let's do what? That. Yeah, alright. So I'm gonna play American Idiot. Let's just play over the track. Or do I want like no guitar backing track? Let's just play over the track. Wait, what? Okay, fuck. Let's just do that again, actually. Let's put this thing on. Do I want to put this thing on? Let's not. Let's not put that thing on. I was just thinking, like, how is the volume is gonna be and all. So turn the video up a little bit. Okay. It's gonna start again. There's no count too. It's just free shit. But like, what can we do? Right. So when the fucking song starts, I just have to immediately play it. Alright. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Fuck it, but alright. doing? To idiot America. Ah, God, it was fucking horrible. God damn. All right. Yeah, that was kind of fun. Well, obviously, I still I still need to fucking practice more. I think I got a little bit of stage nerve right there. Yeah, I don't know what happened, but like, yeah, that's that. That hurts my arm a little bit. I think I strummed too hard. I don't need to, right? But I just kind of want to. Yeah, that's that. Yeah, that's like my progress, I guess. Right? No, whatever you want to call it. I don't care. I kind of just want to show that off. But yeah, that's that for now. We're going to go to learning. Let's learn more stuff. So yeah, let me just switch my preset to a clean tone. Go back to right. So clear sounding. Yeah, it's very bright. Right, so yeah, so we got this, I guess. Cool chords, fast changes, and scales. Uh, what do we want to do? Do I want to take the book out? Maybe. Maybe I need to take the book out. Let's take the book out. Bang. Bang. Alright, the book is out. Put down. Alright, so the book is ready. I think I'm ready. Let's get down to this. Grade 2. Let's see what is about this course. So again, as per usual, I'm just like what? I'm just documenting every part of the process of my learning, and just want to like share it with people. And my journey so far is in the grade 2 of Justin's guitar course, and of course I'm using Justin guitar course. I think, you know, the so far after all I've seen, yeah, it's a pretty well made course, and you know, because it's free, it's just like you have to like take a peek at it, right? You kind of just have to, because like it really costs you nothing. And, you know, I'm still like not at a part where I want, because again, the beginner course is mostly just uh more of a revision, right? Just things that I've already know from like experience of playing before. It's not so much new things that I learned, but this time, looking at what all of these are, you know, I might be learning some new things. This is why I'm taking out a notebook. And yeah, let's just see what the course is about. Can use practice listen, and then the song collection that may be in the the course. Like this may be like the songs that we might play. Right. So of course this guy is here. Uh-huh. The Forbidden Riff. I forgot how to play it actually. Alright, hold on. Alright, that's enough. I don't know why I keep going. Yeah, these are all the songs that we might play. Or we could use as a revision or whatever. And this is a lot. Some of them I know. I mean, I've listened to before. I think these are pretty good. These are pretty interesting songs to listen to. So yeah, let's see what it's about.
Hey, how you doing? Justin here. Welcome to Grade 2. Hope you had a lot of fun consolidating Grade 1 and you're ready for some new adventures. We're going to start off by checking out the stuck 3 and 4 chords, which are a really useful little set of chords used in loads of songs. And then we're going to tackle the F chord. A lot of people stress about the F chord. It's not that bad if you learn it the right way, and the sooner you face it, the sooner you'll be able to actually use it. Now, as well in this grade, we're going to do a taster of some fingerstyle, some blues guitar, and some rock power chords. So plenty of stuff to get stuck into. Let's go.
All right. Yeah, I guess that's it. We're playing, rock techniques, which I kind of want. I want to learn the classics. Well, not the classics. Like, what do you call it? No, it is kind of like a classic now, right? Yeah, I want to learn those. And blues, very much the foundation of guitar, I guess. And some fingerstyle. This one. All right, let's just go into it. So the first one was kind of long. I don't know if I'm going to do it all of it today. I might split into two, depending on how I feel. But yeah. Let's check some stuff. Yeah, I guess we can just like go at it. Advanced beginner. Hey, let's learn fancy. Your first scale, full energy strumming. Stuck chords. This is a long one. And a riff. Pick manipulation. Yeah, there's maybe some newfound, what is it? Newfound knowledge shit that I don't know before, but alright, let's go. Let's just go. Let's just start it. Let's just start. Like, what's the point of wasting more time? Let's see.
Hey, how you doing? Justin here. Welcome to Lesson 8. And man, have we got some fun stuff to do this lesson. We're going to start by checking out the stuck 3 and 4 chords, which are a really cool little set of chords where the 3rd and 4th fingers are stuck down in the 3rd fret on the thinnest 2 strings for all of the different shapes. A really cool trick used in loads of songs, including the featured song for this lesson, which is Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd. We're also going to check out a new way of practicing your chord changes that I call perfect fast changes. It's like a follow-on from the 1-minute changes. We're going to look at the open E minor pentatonic scale, which is a really fascinating scale that we're going to be using for improvising later in this grade. And we're also going to look at deliberately muting strings, which is a really effective way of tidying up your playing. On top of all that, we're going to be checking out all down 8th note strumming, and we're going to also spend some time looking at pick manipulation. It's one of those things a lot of people struggle with holding the pick, so I'm going to teach you a little bit about how to hold it and how to control the movement of the pick in your fingers. As usual, we've got tons of cool songs to learn in this lesson, and we're also going to learn the notes in the open position. So lots to get on with. Let's get started.
Also, that strat that uses holding is kind of cursed. In a sense that, it's a very weird setup. The HSH, I mean, it's not weird, right? It's a lot of those. Is that the hardware itself is this weird combination of look, whatever. What does it matter? All right, this is the long one to see it. Yeah, let's go. Let's see what's up. Let's start it. I don't care. I want to learn now. Alright. 20 minutes. There are 9 fancy chords all guitar beginners should know. Why do beginner guitar players love these chords so much? To play them, you can keep 2 fingers in the same position when switching between these awesome grips. Even better, they sound super cool, and they're useful for many chord changes now and later to your guitar journey. Okay. Many call these the Wonderwall chords because they're played in the Oasis Classic. Okay, I mean that's fine. I don't know how to play Wonderwall, by the way. It's probably worse. There are also common chords in other 90s rock ballads. Oh wow. If you don't memorize all of these new chords immediately, do not worry. This is a lot of new information. It will take practice and time to get familiar with these new chords. Alright, this might actually be new to me. So 3 and 4. Okay, let's keep going. Let's keep going. Let's see what's up. I might pop out the thing here to like get a bit bigger.
Hey, how you doing? Justin here. Today we're...
Hold on. No. Okay, it is on. It is on the screen. Let me just adjust it enough. Like that. I suppose. Alright, that works. Now let's see what's up.
We're going to talk about some really fantastically useful chord grips that I call the stuck 3/4 chords. Now, other people seem to call them the Wonderwall chords because they're the chords that are used in Wonderwall. Whatever you're going to call them, the basic idea is that we're going to keep our 3rd and 4th fingers in the 3rd fret of the thinnest 2 strings throughout a whole bunch of different chords. Now, this makes some of the chord changes a lot easier and some of them a little harder. It has a very unique sound to it as well because you get this kind of drone effect, which is called when we have these 2 notes ringing out the same most of the way through. They're very commonly used in rock, particularly kind of that 90s rock, okay. Guns N' Roses and Poison and that kind of era stuff was very, very popular. That's where I first encountered using them. They're just a fantastic set of chords to learn for kind of advancing beginners. Maybe shouldn't be the first chords that you learn, but once you've got through your basic grips, these are a really fantastic set of chords to get a handle on. So let's get to a close-up and check them out. So let's take a look at what I call the big G. If you've come from my regular beginners course, you're probably playing G like this right now with just the 2nd and the 3rd finger, and you're muting the 5th string. That's a fine way to play G. For this particular one, what we're going for is using the 3rd and 4th fingers on the thinnest 2 strings on the 3rd fret. So they should actually be kind of touching each other. They should be kind of connected and resting in the 3rd fret, thinnest 2 strings. 1st finger is going to go down in the 2nd fret of the 5th string, where it would normally go if you were playing a kind of a standard G chord, and then 2nd finger is going down in the 3rd fret of the thicker string. Sounds like this. Now you can definitely lift off your 1st finger. We're going to talk about that a little more in a second, but just to talk about this chord shape again for a little minute, just to iron out some things. Now firstly, you're probably going to want to start by putting your 3rd and 4th fingers down and finding a nice place for them. You want to be using your fingertips and you don't want to let the fingers fall flat, right? Particularly the 3rd finger, you might find that your 3rd finger knuckle wants to kind of fall down like that. You want to try and keep it round all of the time, right the way through all of these chord grips. You're trying to keep the 3rd finger on its tip and not let it go like that. Many of
Okay.
you are going to have that problem. I had it when I was learning the left doing
Yeah,
the
that's
left-handed
fine.
thing. My third finger kept folding down like that. So you really want to try and keep those fingers nice and round all the time. You know, that, you know, curled up.
Alright.
So work on that a little bit. What you might find as well, well, I found, you might find it too, is that I started pressing really hard with my third finger for some reason. It was almost like it was trying to compensate for the fact that I was using my little finger, which at this stage you might not have used your little finger much. You're going to find your little finger gets pretty painful pressing down there. So just be aware of the pressure. You want to press enough to get a good note, right? To get the note clear. Again, that's a lot down to do with position. You don't want to have the fingers right at the back of the fret there. You're going to have to press too hard. So trying to get them right up close to the fret there, and just experiment a little bit to find a way where they're both sitting comfortably and the fingers are nice and connected with each other. They're sitting on top of one another, touching. Okay? Then put the first finger down, then the second finger. Try to make sure that the tip of the first finger is down as well. Again, if you let that go too flat, you're going to mute the fourth string. Okay, and then the second finger again on the tip. If you let it lay down too flat, you're going to mute that fifth string anyway. So just spend a little bit of time, get the placement of the third and fourth fingers down, then the first finger, then the second finger, all nicely on the tips. Give it a strum, pick out the notes one at a time. Okay, if you
Nice.
find that you've got some of this sort of stuff going on where it might sound like this,
Should I skip ahead?
you need to go through and pick them out. Okay, that one just
Good
needs to press harder. That's muted, so lift up the second finger a bit. There we go. Make sure the first finger is on the tip. You might just be not pressing hard enough with the third finger. Go through all of those little checks and make sure that you've got that chord sounding sweet before you start on any other ones. Now, I already mentioned that you can lift off your first finger, just like we did for my kind of standard G chord. Now, if you're going to play this one, I call this a rock G. This is what you'd play if you were playing like an AC/DC song or something. You'd probably play your G chord like that. It sounds great on electric guitar with distortion, this particular one. It's a very, very cool chord. Now, for any of you doing my music theory course, you might notice something if you know the names of the notes. This is the note G, nothing on that string, on the fifth string. D, G, D, G. So it's actually only Ds and Gs. The correct name for this chord would be a G5. You could call this one an open power chord, but you could still use it to replace pretty much any time you've got a G chord. You could play this instead, or this, or this, or that. Any of those would be acceptable replacements for a G chord when it just says G in the sheet music. So how do you know which G to play? If it says G in a song, well, how do you know? There's now 4 different choices. In fact, there's another one we'll get to a little later where you use your third and fourth fingers only. Now, you're going to use different ways of playing G depending on what the song is. Okay, so in different songs and different circumstances, you're going to use different ways of playing a G chord. Later on, you can learn how to play a G as a bar chord, like this, or like this, or like this, or like this. They're all different Gs.
Okay, man. Okay,
There's
calm down.
loads of different approaches to playing
Those
G
are
chord.
inversions.
So as you progress on your journey, you're going to learn lots of different ways of playing G and every other chord, and then you're going to learn circumstances to use them in.
Okay.
Now, this one with the 2 fingers down is a particularly interesting one because of all of these other chord shapes that you can use that work really well.
Okay.
Make the changes easy from this G chord. So let's have a look at the first one of those, which is starting on the full G, the big G. If you move your first and second fingers down one string.
Alright, yeah.
So now the second finger is muting the thicker string. Second finger's down 3rd fret on the 5th string. First finger is on the 2nd fret of the 4th string. Open G string, 3rd and 4th fingers as they were. This is called a C add 9 chord. This note here is the 9th note of the C major scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's where we get its name from. Doesn't matter. This is just a replacement for a C chord. If you've got a C chord and a piece of music, you can nearly always drop in a C add 9 instead. You have to use your ears and have a listen. Sometimes you go, oh, didn't sound really good in this particular song, so stop doing it, right? That's the easy way to do it. So this is a C add 9. Really good thing to practice is just changing
I guess, yeah.
from the G,
I didn't realize
move those
that.
2 fingers down,
Terrible
and have a
with
go
scales.
at playing the C add 9. shapes from one to the other. Now again, I would quite commonly play that G, kind of rock G, to C add 9. You don't always have to be doing those, you know, the two fingers moving together there. You might find sometimes you go from the rock G to a C add 9, and that's totally fine as well. So next chord we're going to check out is a D sus4. It is basically a D chord, but we left our third and fourth fingers down where they were on the thinnest two strings. You don't need to put your second finger down because that note is kind of covered by the little finger anyway. It doesn't make any difference if the second finger was down or not. You might find it easier to put it down initially.
Or is it a sus?
Because it's then a familiar shape. But really you just need your first finger down. We're still just playing the thinnest four strings though. Okay, so now we've got this G, C, and D. C, G. I think you'll agree that's an easier set of changes than G, C, D, C. That has a whole lot of movement going on. There's lots of things to, you know, lots of movement for the fingers. Whereas here, you can see it's a lot easier to play this particular sequence, the G, C, and D, which is a very, very common set of chords. You'll find hundreds of songs that use just G, D, and C, and particularly when we combine in a couple of these other chords that we can play along with it as well. It's a really nice set. So this one should be pretty easy. We're not going to play the thickest two strings. If you accidentally play the fifth string, it doesn't really sound bad, but you don't want to play the thickest string when you're playing your D sus4 chord. I should point out as well that D sus4 chord you can nearly always use when you've got a regular D. So if it says D in the music, you can nearly always play it. If you stay on it, it has a different effect. This suspended sound, we're going to talk a bit more later in the course about what exactly suspension means and how it works. But you can hear it kind of goes, it wants to resolve, it wants to go down to the D. And interestingly, in this set of chords, you'll quite often find that it sounds better to play a regular D. So you might find that you're using G, C to D, regular. So you've lifted the little finger off just for the D chord, and then you put it back for the others. That's a real common thing to do. But because you've got that third finger anchor, moving between those and playing a regular D is still actually pretty easy to do. So you don't have to worry about it too much. You can either play regular D or D sus4. Again, you have to use your ears when you're playing these songs. Some songs will kind of want those fingers to be stuck there for the whole time. Other ones, it'll sound a bit better if you go to a regular D instead of a D sus4. And there's more still. We're next checking out an A7 sus4. Now this one, we're using our first and second fingers in the second fret on the fourth and third string. So we're not going to play the thickest string, open fifth string, first finger down, second fret on the fourth string, second finger down, second fret on the third string, third fingers where they were before. The name of this chord is A7 sus4. You wouldn't normally substitute this if it just had A in the sheet music, although in some songs it'll sound great, especially songs where there's lots of this stuck 3 and 4 going on anyway. This would be a great substitute for the A chord, but you will find sometimes it just doesn't quite kind of work. You can't just substitute it anytime you like for a regular A chord. Do be aware that the first finger is probably going to be further back from the fret than it usually would be, so you might have to press a little harder with the third finger. And also you might find that the separation between the second and third finger gets a little bit difficult here. I definitely found that on my left-handed one. Right-handed it feels really natural and comfortable and easy, but left-handed I know it didn't. So you're probably going to find that separating the second and third fingers is an awkward stretch just generally anyway. So just be aware of that and try and, you know, well, you're going to have to practice it, frankly. That's the answer here. If you find it a little bit difficult, a little bit stretchy, which you're likely to, you know, the answer here is going to be some practice. Now, I'm going to explain another common variation of this one as well, which is the one that's used in Wonderwall, which is actually lifting off the second finger. We're just changing the note that's doubled here because the open G and the note played by the little finger is the same note. So, especially going from D to A7 sus, then you just have to move the first finger over and that's it. So you end up, that's a very, very nice little sequence to have the D to the A like that. You just, you know, very, very simple. Open, second, open, third, third. Okay, so it's still an A7 sus4. Whether the second finger is down or not, they sound slightly different, but they're still an A7 sus4 would be the name of that particular chord. And there's more. This chord is really useful, used in loads of songs that use the stuck 3/4, and it's called an E minor 7. Now, we've got the third and fourth fingers as usual, stuck on the thinnest 2 strings. First finger's going down, second fret on the 5th string, second finger's down, second fret on the 4th string. We are going to play the open thicker string.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
So we end up with open, second fret, second fret, open, third fret, third fret. You might find it a little tricky getting that second finger pointed enough. A lot of people mute that third string, so it's one thing to be aware of. And you're probably going to find this pretty difficult. When I was doing my left-handed thing, I found doing this stretch here between the second and the third finger was really, really hard. It was awkward, it felt uncomfortable, and it also really cooked the muscle here. This one here between my thumb and my first finger. Oh man, it was really, really getting sore. In fact, it kind of is still when I'm practicing this chord left-handed. It's just, obviously it's on this hand, but man, it really hurts. Now this is actually part of the reason why I'm doing this set of chords in this particular place, because next lesson we've got a chord that requires a lot of strength here with this muscle. So part of what I want you to do is to build up that muscle by practicing these chords and having to go at some of these songs, keeping that thumb behind. You're going to work that muscle out, and it's going to make the next lesson's new chords a little easier. So there is kind of method here. I've given this a little bit of thought. So try and avoid the temptation of letting thumb grab around the top. I know when you see me playing stuff, you're often going to see thumb creeping around. Sometimes I use it to play notes, but I don't recommend that you'd be doing that at this stage. Soon we'll be getting into how and why that works, but just not yet. Don't go there. So this is the E minor 7 chord. Again, you just want to practice doing this, particularly changing with the other chords. Now you've got a nice little set to practice. We'll be going G to C to D to A to E minor. Okay, I know that these have all got fancy names, so this would be G, this is a C add 9, this is a D sus4, this is an A7 sus4, and this is an E minor 7. But you can just think of it as going G, C, D, A, and E minor. That as a little set is a really great thing to practice. Because like 1 minute changes here, just going, say, like that, it might have a place, it might be useful, but what I would recommend when you're practicing is just literally going through that little sequence and checking all the notes. We're not dedicating like 1 minute to each specific grip. I just want you to spend, 3 minutes or so just checking all of the chords and a couple of the variations I'm going to discuss in a second. Just making sure that each of the chords sounds good and trying to fix any problems that you might find. After maybe 3 or 4 or 5 practices on that, you might find that, hey, I really need some extra 1 minute changes practice here, particularly maybe getting to these stuck 3/4s, like doing, say, A minor, which doesn't really have a stuck 3/4 version, to G. So you might decide, okay, I'm going to change my practice routine from being 3 minutes just working on all of these chords generally to a specific change that you're struggling with in a song, for example. So at this, grade 2 guitar players want to be aware of their practice routine and what things they want to work on, what songs they're playing, and how that's going to affect the things that they're going to practice. There's a couple more chords that I want to take you through. They're less commonly used, but as we're going through all of the stuck 3/4 chords, I felt the completist in me wanted to discuss them. This is the first one. This is called a D11/F sharp chord, I guess. It's basically a D with an F sharp bass, but because we've got the third and fourth fingers down, I have to give it a new fancy name. I've chosen to add 11. It could be D sus4/F sharp, but then the sus4 means take away the third, and we've got the third in the bass. Doesn't really matter. It's just a new chord. The reason that this chord exists and where you're likely to find it is moving between G and E minor. So having G, D with an F sharp bass to E minor, or the other way around. It's a moving chord. We want this. That's what we're aiming for, is this sound. Then you're going to find it in that kind of thing where you've got, that's a real common movement. You can see it's nice going from the G, the fingers separate. Okay, so first finger's going down, second fret, thicker string. It's muting the fifth string. Now it doesn't have to mute the fifth string, but it's really awkward to not mute it. So I tend to mute it nearly every time. Open fourth string, second fret, finish two strings, third fret as usual. Okay, so let's just call it D with an F sharp bass rather than D11 over F sharp. It's a bit long-winded. And then to get to the E minor, the two fingers come together. So that's a real nice thing to practice, is just the first and second fingers moving out and then back together. This is a lovely chord, D with F sharp bass, with the stuck 3/4. You will find that it's pretty common, especially in this movement, like I said, going from G, instead of going G, D, E minor, you're much more likely to find G, D with an F sharp bass to E minor. And there's one more, just one more chord. Now this one is a lot less common than the other ones. It's this, but it's nice. This is an F6/9 chord, it's called. It's the same as the C
6/9
add 9, but we've moved it down one string. If we're playing this chord, we definitely don't want to play the thickest two strings. They sound really horrible. Just a horrible sounding chord when you do that. So make sure the tip of your second finger there is muting the fifth string, and then just avoid playing the thicker string. So this is starting on the fourth string, third fret, second fret, third fret, third fret. Okay, it's an F, a type of F chord. We're going to talk a little bit more about F very soon, but
F.
It's just a nice one to have if you're doing this kind of. There's lots of songs that have got this kind of C, F, G, F little idea. So you can, it's a nice little cheater around an F chord if it's one that you're going to struggle with. Again, we'll talk more about F chord very, very soon. So this one, it's called an F6/9 chord, less common than the other ones, but still a useful one to have under your fingers. So I already gave you a little chord sequence that I recommend that you practice. You definitely want to spend some time just working on all of the different chords and making the changes between them. But then start to look at the songs that you want to play and the specific chord grips that are used in the songs that you like, and work on those ones. Because some of these variations, like the F chord, you might not encounter that for a little while, so there's no sense spending loads of time practicing it. Same with the D with the F sharp bass. You may choose to get into using it, you might not. That's an optional one, but definitely I'd recommend doing some practice on that little chord movement of the G to the...
Yeah, so these are all the chords. This just sound like what you can. I mean, I know a few. I know this is a thing. This one and this. And the E minor and the C is a thing. I don't know so much about the other. Obviously, I know the G, so I know like 3 of these. I don't know this thing. Or the F. Damn, I'm trying to remember what song that's this progression. Is this not Ariana Grande? Or is that Selena Gomez? I don't know. It could be Taylor Swift. I don't know. I just know it's a woman singing it. I know I've heard this fucking chord progression before. Do 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 do. I don't remember this song at all. I mean, there's quite a lot of songs that has this chord progression actually. So it's this E minor, F over D over F, and G. I mean, that's really helpful. I don't know how I would note this though. I guess there's things that, it's good to remember. I do have to remember what is what. So yeah, I know this is a G, obviously, like everyone knows this. This would make sense as a C, because C is this. Right, so I have the root third. So this being C makes sense. Also E minor 7. I figured it would be E minor 7 because the 7th chord means playing the 7th. Because this is E. That's the 7. Okay, E. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7. Wait, this is the 7 though. What is this? This is E. This is D sharp. There is no D sharp. Why is it a 7th chord? This is G. This is a B. Wait, what? E. Oh, yeah, right, it's a minor 7. Right, of course, it's the 7. Oh my god, it's a minor. I've been doing, I just did like a major scale the whole time, not knowing it's a minor. Of course, it's a minor 7. Right? Yeah, now it makes sense. Yeah, it's the 7th. No, that's why it's called 7. And it's a D, and then you got the G. Yeah, makes sense. It's like a 7th. Yeah. Right. Let's get on with the next one. Quick fast change. I think I need to learn that one.
The C to the D to the A to the E minor. And just cycling around that little
one.
sequence because it's very, very common, and there are some awesome songs that we're going to learn this lesson.
Yeah, this is the tenor.
Exactly, those shapes.
The
Some fun.
D is also D. It's A. Yeah, it makes sense though, like which one's which, because no, like as an open string chords, you would see it. You would see the parts of it, right? So yeah, that's that. In this one, right? I think I just skipped this one. There's, I mean, it's good to know. We'll see. We'll see if I want.
Hey, how you doing? Justin back with you today for a new exercise, which I call perfect fast changes. Now, this was kind of an accidental discovery I learned in my left-handed practice, where 1 minute changes and chord perfect practice weren't kind of coming together as well as they did for the very beginner stuff when I was learning these, new chords. And a little bit when I was doing some of the consolidation there for grade 1 as well, is where I first discovered this kind of idea. Now, 1 minute changes, the idea is getting the fingers moving as fast as possible. Okay, so really just working on scrambling between the chords, not really worrying about if the chords don't, if the chords aren't perfect or you hit the wrong strings or whatever. And chord perfect practice is spending a lot of care and attention trying to get the notes exactly right. And in most cases, they kind of come together. If you're practicing both those things an equal amount, you end up having perfect fast changes. But sometimes I think it needs a little bit of individual attention for perfect fast changes. So what I started doing is picking 2 chords and changing between them as fast as I could, but making sure the chords were coming out perfectly. Now, the point is that if you are playing a song with 2 chords in it, usually you're going to be on the one chord for at least a bar, if not a couple of bars, before you change. And in that sort of context, it's harder to really focus on an individual chord change. So I'm calling these perfect fast changes, PFC initials in the practice routines. And the idea would literally be, take your chord, get my thumb back around the back like I'm telling you, trying to do what I say, and changing, say, to that G, that's a particularly difficult chord change. Now, I'm not going and just letting it be all sloppy and not quite right. I'm doing the chord, and I'm strumming slightly slower. Here's the tip. Change. So what you'll find is if you do that slightly slower strum, you'll hear the notes in the chord, and you'll hear if it's not coming out right, you'll start to hear that the notes are getting a little bit wonky, especially after you've done a little bit of practice on this and you get used to this kind of the drag of the pick going across the strings. It doesn't have to be. I mean, as I got better at it, I felt like I could strum a bit more normally and still hear whether the chord was coming out right or not. Okay, now you can time yourself still, you can put a timer on, keep a track of your changes, but the difference between this and the 1 minute changes is really striving for the chords to be sounding excellent and not being satisfied with some of the notes ringing out or buzzy notes or any of that sort of stuff. You really want to be aiming now for the chords to be sounding really good as often as you can.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I mean, skip the spinning hundred. I think I know. Yeah, let's go. Right, minor pentatonic. Okay, pentatonic scale. I think that everyone fucking love. The first pentatonic scale you should learn. Okay, let's go. Excited for this one.
Hey, how you doing? Justin here. In this lesson, we're going to be looking at the E minor pentatonic scale in the open position. Now, we haven't really looked a lot at scales. The basic idea of a scale is we're playing one note at a time. And this is a really great thing to start working on. It's great for pick accuracy. You're going to need it if you're playing your riffs and all of that sort of stuff. So There's a lot of reasons that we learn scales, where you can use them for improvising, like I said, riff creation, and they're kind of useful as an exercise as well. Now, this particular scale that we're doing today, I want you to use all down picks. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit more about picking, and I'm going to do some close-ups on some extra food for thought in the very next lesson. But just for this one right now, I just want you to think about playing down picks with your picking hand as we go through and learn the scale. So we're going to start by playing the open thickest string, and then the third finger is going to go down in the third fret of the thickest string, and you're going to play that note.
It's the same. The same.
Another down pick. Then we're going to play the open fifth string.
The same minor pentatonic
then we're going to use our second finger to play the second fret.
You know, you don't press the
on
fret
that
here.
same string.
So
then we're going to play the open fourth string.
Right.
Then second fret, second finger. Then open third string. Again, second fret, second finger. Open B string, second string. Then third finger, third fret. Open E string or thinner string, string 1. Then third finger, third fret, thinner string. To go back down, we don't play that note twice. We go back to the open string. Now we're going to play the next note we play is going to be the third fret on the second string, then the open string, then the second fret on the third string, still with the second finger, then the open, then second fret on the fourth string with the second finger, then the open string, second fret on the fifth string, then the open fifth string, third fret on the thickest string, and then the open. Okay, right. One more time. Open, third fret, open, second fret, open, second fret, open, second fret, open, third fret, open.
We're gonna skip this.
When you first try this, you're probably going to find it pretty challenging. You're going to find you pick the wrong strings regularly. I found it incredibly difficult to pick the right string all the time. I'd have my finger on a note and then be picking it seemed like every string except the one that I wanted to play. It's just normal. This is going to be a new challenge. It's a different thing to what stuff that we've worked on. It's a little bit similar to the riffs, and it's going to be very helpful for your riff playing, for sure. But you're going to find this a little challenging. There's going to be another challenge which we're going to talk a bit more about in the next lesson, which is going to be string muting. I'll just let you know what that is. That's what we're going to be discussing, exactly how we pick and the position of the hand and whether we rest the fingers on. So all of that's going to be coming up in just a second. So we're going to do that in a separate lesson in case there are more questions about it. At this stage, you want to be memorizing the shape. This open third finger, then open second finger, second finger, second finger, third finger is on the thinnest two strings. Then it's just second finger all the way down until the thickest string. You want to start working on it as a shape, trying to envisage that shape in your mind and remembering the pattern, because you've got to memorize this. And, it's fine to look at the actual scale diagram for the first few times, but you don't want to be relying on it all the time. You just don't. Okay, so use a tab or use a scale diagram to learn it, to memorize it, and make sure that you get it right. And actually, that's something else I should mention here. You want to be doing it slow enough to get it absolutely perfect. Because if you do it really slowly and you get it exactly right, and you do it a few times, then your brain's got like a code. It knows what instructions to send out, and then it's a lot easier to say, hey brain, do that same thing, but just do it a little bit faster, please. And it won't struggle with it. There's that old adage that you might have heard, practice makes perfect. Actually, practice doesn't make perfect. It's ridiculous to think that you keep doing the thing wrong and suddenly going to get better. It isn't. Practice makes permanent. So practice perfectly. Okay, this is a really, really important thing as we start getting into more complicated things. You've got to practice it exactly right. Because every time you practice it, you're making it more and more permanent. If you've got a mistake in there, it's going to might take quite some time to iron it out and get it correct. That said, there are certain things in the beginner journey that I am kind of showing you not exactly the whole right thing, because there's a bit of a balancing act that I have to find as a teacher, where I'm going, well, maybe do I teach them that really difficult part of this yet? Actually, the next lesson is one of those things where I've been weighing up, going like, oh, so I teach them about string muting, that might just lead to confusion. So there's this little, we have to try and find a balance here. I'll talk a bit more again about that in the next lesson, and I'll explain exactly what I mean. So just be aware of that, particularly with the shape stuff. You don't want to get the shape wrong. You want to take your time and be doing it slow enough that you can make sure that you get the shape exactly right. The other part of it that I want to talk about before we get more into the picking is playing with a metronome. Now, the first few times you practice it, you don't want to go near a metronome, right? Maybe the first 3, 4, 5 times. Just don't even worry about going near the metronome. Just play it really slowly and make sure that you can get it exactly right. Once you feel confident with that, then you might want to have a go at playing it with a metronome. And playing it with the metronome is you're going to be playing one note for each click. A target tempo would be something like 80 beats per minute. So setting a metronome to 80 and then just trying to play along with the click. So it'll be going click, 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 click. And just trying to get it through. So it's at a nice, easy tempo. Again, when I'm saying a nice, easy tempo, 80 beats per minute for many of you will be an absolute freak out. Okay, you'll find that you miss some notes altogether. You won't be able to get one of the notes on the beat, or you'll get completely out of time with the metronome. If so, just slow the metronome down. Find a tempo where you can do one note for each click. Maybe it's 60, maybe it's 50. If you can't get it at 50, then you probably want to go back to just not practicing it with a metronome and just working on the dexterity and being able to pick the right notes. But don't be harsh on yourself. If you're finding that you're kind of okay at 80, but occasionally you're missing a note, it's no big deal. Okay? The idea of practicing with a metronome is it induces a bit of panic playing with a metronome, which is what it's like when you play for real, because the beat never stops when you're playing for real. So playing with a metronome is really good practice for that kind of thing. Building in this idea of having to play in time, because you should be playing in time all the time. Right, so that's the more stuff you do with the metronome, the better you'll develop your time feel, your sense of time internally, as well as your ability to be able to play with another musician. Okay, playing with a metronome's not really a musician, but it's that same thing of getting used to playing, hearing a pulse and being able to play along with it will help you play with other musicians as well. So I've alluded to it quite a bit already. The next thing we're going to be talking about is how to pick and keep the strings muted that you don't want to ring out. And that's mostly to do with this hand, so we're going to talk a lot more about how you actually pick the strings in the next lesson, so stay tuned for that.
Is that it? Is that what you want me to do? Huh?
Hey, how you doing, Justin? Back with you. Today we're going to talk about deliberately muting strings. Now, at this point, we've talked a bit about muting strings when we've been playing chords, like on a C chord, using your third finger to mute the thicker string. And you've probably discovered it doesn't take much of a touch to mute a string.
Yeah.
Now, when you get into playing scales, if you don't do any string muting, many of the open strings will ring out when you don't really want them to. So I want to talk a little bit about the different approaches to how the strings get muted, which we're going to start by looking at the picking hand and exactly what that entails. Before we get too much into the details, I figure I should give you a bit of a demonstration so you can hear exactly what it is that it sounds like when you don't do string muting and then you do, because it's very different. So here's the E minor pentatonic scale with no muting from either hand. Here we go.
Ah, there's a ringing.
Here, there's a lot of strings ringing out there if I stop it. It's a lot of sound that was going on. Now I'll do it with some string muting, probably better than you will achieve in your first few attempts at it. I have been doing this for a little while. If you want to hear what it really sounds like, go and check out my left-handed practice sessions and you will hear it not working quite as well, but something like it. Here we go with no string, with plenty of string muting.
Yeah, it's very clean sounding. That's what you want for like solos, right?
no sound. One more time with no string muting. You want single lines to be single lines most of the time. Sometimes you don't. Thinking Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd, you've got chord tones ringing out while you play the single lines, then you wouldn't be using string muting. But if you're playing scales, most of the time you do want to mute strings. Now there's some danger here, which is if you think about it too much and you get too into it at this stage, it might just kind of screw everything up for you and you'll get too obsessed with this as an idea. It's something that's going to develop with your playing, and I feel like the earlier you're aware of it, the earlier you can start to make some progress in fixing it. But you should not expect yourself to be doing this stuff perfectly before you move on, right? This is likely to take you many weeks or months probably, to be able to get this stuff sorted out. So don't feel like you need to get all of your string muting sorted before you move on to the next lesson. You definitely don't. This is a longer term project, and I want to explain just a little bit about how it's going to work. I'm going to start by looking at the fretting hand so that you understand how the picking hand is going to pick up the bits that the fretting hand can't deal with. So the first thing that's a little bit different with all of the chords and things that we've been looking at, we nearly always want to use the tips of our fingers. But when we go into playing single lines, we want our fingers to be a little bit flatter so they mute the strings that we're not playing. When we play the first note, probably there's not too much ringing out unless you've done something a bit drastic and played more strings than you should. When third finger goes down, it is straight away going to be laying down lightly and muting all of the other strings. So I can strum all of them, but there's just that one note ringing out. It's not that we aim to use the tips of the fingers. There are circumstances where we might want to do that, but I want you to have a go right now of using kind of the more of the flat of the third finger so that it's muting all of the strings as you go down. The open fifth string, hopefully everything's still muted from that third finger. So you shouldn't have too many problems there unless you pick too many strings or something like that. Now when second finger goes down, it's still flat and muting all of the other strings, but it's also the tip of the second finger is muting the thickest string. So it's muting the thicker string and all of the strings, well actually there was one ringing out there, but most of the strings underneath it. The open fourth string, again, that, you know, if we've just played that and everything's quiet and been touched, there shouldn't be too much going on here. Second finger, again, should be, it wasn't then, it should be muting the fifth string and the notes underneath again. But now, these strings are kind of open, there's nothing touching that one, and this is where the picking hand starts to get involved by leaning and touching on some of the strings. We're going to do a close-up on that hand in just a second. So, we have the open, it goes down again, muting the fourth string and the strings underneath. Okay, now this is particularly important when we're coming down here. When that finger goes down, because we had this open string, when this finger goes down, it's also muting the thinner string. There's the open string. As it's going down to play that note, it's muting the thinner string. Let's take a look at what's happening with the picking hand.
This one I want.
So we play that first note. Second note comes in. That's mostly the job of the third finger to do the muting. Another downstroke. Now already, you probably can't see it, but the heel of my hand is just lightly touching now on the thicker string. As soon as I've moved on to that, that's happening. Just ever so slightly touching on the thicker string there. So it's not this big motion anymore. Now there are lots of different picking techniques. This is one of them. Okay, there are some guys that play with a round wrist like this and play very fast and very accurately and well and do or leave all of the muting to the other hand. I would recommend you start by just exploring the idea of the hand resting on the strings there. So as soon as you're onto that second string, at that point when you're playing that, there's a little bit of touch there. The palm of the hand is just lightly touching on that string. Now, as you go down, now the palm, it's kind of this part of my palm here, in the crux here, the very edge of my palm is just ever so lightly resting on the strings as I go down.
Because you can see it. Yeah, yeah. You want to just go like that.
Okay, so now at this point, it's actually pressing down on all of the strings there and keeping all of them covered. So when I'm playing that, actually all of these strings are muted, except for the one that I want to do.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Now that's the basic idea. It is going to be difficult for you to do this, so don't get too hung up on making this perfect before you move on.
Wow, he fucking ended that abruptly there. I don't know why. But yeah, that makes sense. Down note strumming pattern. Same thing in the backbeat. So it's just 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Is that it?
Hey, how you doing? Justin here. Today we're going to talk about all down eighth note strumming, which is a particular strumming pattern, very, very effective, great for pop. It's kind of a precursor to what we call 16th note strumming, but don't freak out about the names, it's not important. At this point, you will have always been looking at doing a down strum on the beat, the 1, 2, 3, and a 4, and an upstroke on the and. Now this is great, and there's lots of different patterns that you can play. It's a very, very effective style of strumming. It's used most of the time. If you want to make things feel faster or have a little bit more energy, or you want to put more strums in, you need to double the amount of possible strums within a bar. So if we think about eighth note strumming, we had 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and that was the most strums we could get, was 8 strums in the bar. Now if we change all of those up strums to down strums, so we strum down on the ands as well as the beat, the 1, 2, 3 and the 4, we end up with this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Now it should be easy, right? Used to down strums are what we started with. It was nice and easy, they're a bit faster, but it's not really a big deal. The reason that we might want to do that is it feels like it's got more energy, like there's something else going on. So if we do eighth notes 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then I change to all down to the same tempo, it feels like it kind of picks it up somehow. It feels a bit faster. Again, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... It's definitely got a different feeling when you do all down strums.
Dynamics, right?
Later on, we can start experimenting with adding upstrokes in there as well, because the same principles apply with our eighth note strumming as what this is now 16th note strumming. That's the proper big name for it. Don't freak out about it. But basically, we've got 16 possible movements in the bar now, because we've got 8 downs, and therefore we've magically got 8 ups as well. Don't worry about doing the upstrokes just yet. We're just concentrating on the downs and this feeling of moving things a little bit further forward. Okay, so it feels like it's got a bit more energy. Coldplay are a great example of that, even on the slow songs, because they're using all of the downstrokes. It feels like it's got kind of momentum in the song, and I think that's a pretty important part of this, a lot of those sort of styles. Now there's another part to it, which if you do all down strums, 8 per bar, and you keep them the same, it tends to sound a little bit boring, frankly. It's missing something if you're just literally going
fucking boring.
Kind of sounds a little bit like a computer programming a strumming or something. It's missing that the humanness. And the way around that is to introduce this idea of an accent, so playing some strums louder than other ones and changing how we play it a bit. So the common place to put an accent is what we call the backbeat, which is beat 2 and beat 4. It's where drummers play with their hand, the snare drum. Excuse my ridiculous attempt at beatboxing, but kind of a normal drum groove going like ka 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3 and 4. It's the 2 and the 4 where we really feel that beat. So a great thing to start working on with your strumming is doing smaller strums on all of the strums except beat 2 and 4, where you do a little bit harder strum and you strum all the strings. So all of the other ones are slightly smaller. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So I'm mainly focusing on the thicker strings here. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
1,
Accent
2,
thing.
3, 4.
Dynamics.
1, 2, 3, 4. Back to just no accents, just focusing on the thicker strings. It's a bit boring, a bit computer-like, it's not really doing anything. As soon as we add 2, 3, 4, 1, 2.
It's crazy how this technique
4,
changes
1,
the accords so much.
4, 1, 2, 3.
Like playing an open string, right? It's just like,
4,
I feel it sounds so weird. Different.
4.
Simple way this technique.
It's so magical. It really brings music to life. As soon as you
Exactly.
add that accent in, it's like it can start to feel really groovy, better. It'll feel nicer. That backbeat is kind of what makes you dance. It's a really important part of drums and rhythm, is having that kind of pulse that we feel. It's usually quite loud in the scheme of a mix of a song, is to hear that. So if you're particularly if you're playing on your own, playing a song on guitar on your own, maybe with a singer, you want to try and accent that backbeat. It'll be a really important part moving forward in your journey. And the easiest way to learn to start doing that is with this all down strumming. You will eventually incorporate it into other strumming patterns as well. So all of those strumming patterns that we talked about before, you will learn to accent the 2 and the 4. Like I said, this is the best place to learn it. So literally grab a chord, any chord, doesn't matter. Maybe use A minor. All down strums, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And then try and keep doing the same thing and make it feel nice.
Yeah, I get it. I can skip this one. So it's accent and dynamics.
Spend some time just practicing through that without a metronome, just trying to get it feeling good, get used to what it feels like to play that way. Eventually you want to start doing it with a metronome. If you can make
Yeah.
things feel great while you're playing with a metronome,
And
you're
it's like-
definitely on the right path. You're doing something good. When you're playing just on your own, it can get a little bit wobbly. You speed up and slow down a little bit, which is sometimes nice. That humanness is sometimes nice. But being able to develop that nice, good, relaxed feeling whilst playing with a metronome is kind of challenging, but a really good thing to be practicing. The other challenge you're going to find with this when you're doing the all-down strumming is where the picking starts. Now with an E chord, say, it's easy, or a G chord, because the root note's on the thicker string, you play all of the strings for those chords. It's easy.
Yeah,
With an A chord, any type of A or A minor or a C, ideally you just want to be picking from the 5th string. Now later on you might end up using your thumb to sneak over the top to mute the thicker string for the A minor chord. For the C chord, you mute the thicker string with the 3rd finger. So you can kind of get away with the picking being slightly less accurate than you want. Ideally you want it just from the 5th string, but if you accidentally hit the thicker string of a C chord, as long as you're muting the thicker string, yeah, it's going to be okay. The D chord feels a little harder because you're picking from the 4th string, which is, you know, mainly when you're doing this style, you're picking the thicker strings and then accenting through all of the rest. With the D chord, you're going to find it a little bit more awkward. So a nice thing to practice again would be doing E, A, D, A, back to E. So starting to get used to develop the accuracy of the picking hand, to find the strings on its own. you can look at it. You'll probably find yourself looking at it, and that's okay. Nick Sudge was definitely struggling with this, with the D chord particularly, trying to get the pick in the right strings.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But what I found is that the picking hand develops an eye on its own. It tends to just feel where the strings are, like the hand seems to know how to find them. Even though my hand's floating, I've got no reference point, it just tends to find the right string. That's just a practice thing. That's something that'll come naturally with you. Even if you don't think about it and you're not aware of it, it will happen for you just through practicing. So again, don't beat yourself up on it, but just be aware. A lot of these things are going to happen in the subconscious, but I feel like if you're aware of it, you can encourage the ideas to kind of form and to grow a little bit. So, and some of you might find yourself doing that and looking at it and beating yourself up because you're looking at it. Don't. It's fine. Look at it if that's what you need to do. Eventually it will start to happen where you don't have to look at either hand. You can just play with your eyes closed, and both hands will kind of feel their way around. But looking at, especially at this stage, looking is completely fine. The task, the practice, is going to be, one, just being able to do it on any chord and getting used to the small strums and putting the accent on beat 2 and the 4. Once you can do it, trying to make it feel good, I'd suggest either an E chord or a G chord or something where you don't have to worry about muting and the accuracy of the picking hand to start off with. Once you feel like you're kind of getting it groovy and it's feeling nice and you're kind of cool with it all, then you want to start thinking about the accuracy of the picking hand and maybe trying to pick some chord progressions to play through where you're actually really focusing on where the picking is starting for this all down strumming. I hope you enjoy it. I'll see you for more very soon. Bye-bye.
I said I want to skip it, but then I didn't. No, because I want to know, like, what's slight different or whatever. But I guess it's the things that I did now. Pick manipulation. This wouldn't be that.
Hey, how you doing, Justin? Back with you today. I want to talk a little bit about pick manipulation. Now, when you first start on guitar, I recommend that you use a thinner pick because they're very forgiving. You can hold onto them quite tightly and you can play away, and it's forgiving. It's nice. It's fairly easy. As soon as you start getting a bit better and you start doing things like playing scales or picking out notes individually, you probably want to start using a thicker pick. Particularly if you're moving a song like, say, Wish You Were Here, where you're moving between strumming and picking out notes individually, a really super thin pick is going to be a bit cumbersome and you're going to struggle to pick out the notes. So you kind of need to move to a thicker pick. As soon as you move to a thicker pick, you're going to notice something weird happens, and that is that it's harder to hold on to the pick, and it keeps moving around within your fingers and falling out and falling on the floor, falling into the guitar if you're really unlucky. And you're going to find yourself wanting to manipulate the pick, and that's fine, and that happens, and this is what this lesson's all about. Now, because a thicker pick makes better contact with the string, stronger contact with the string, it's much more likely to kind of get moved. So you might find that it's kind of poking out nicely here, and then you go to strum, and then it suddenly all just got pushed in. Well, what do you do when that happens? How do you deal with the fact that the pick is suddenly pushed in and you can't kind of play with it? You're going to have to move it. Now, using another finger to move the pick is fine. So it would usually be your driving finger that gets involved. If the pick's gone wrong, you can use it to flick it back into the right place or manipulate it. You can find that you should be able to use that driving finger combined with your first finger to move the pick around. So I'm just like experimenting, moving the pick all of the way around. There's the tip at the top, there's the other side at the top, and there's the tip at the top. So I'm just getting used to fiddling with the pick. Now, I have a pick in my hand a lot, particularly when I was younger. It was like a fidget toy the kids have now, where I just had a pick in my hand and I was always just kind of manipulating it, getting used to holding it between my fingers and then hiding it away so I could do some fingerstyle-y stuff. Just experimenting with how I was holding the pick and having it in my hand a lot really helped. But what you're going to find, particularly when you're strumming, if it goes wrong, how are you going to fix it? Well, you're going to have to find a way to fix it while you're still playing. Now, what I'm doing now is I'm manipulating the pick to play while I'm still strumming. I've gone all of the way around to do a complete lap. So I'm starting with it at the point. Now I'm letting the I'm lightly holding the pick and letting the pressure of the string move the pick around. So now the pick is pointing, the sharp end is pointing away from me. I'm now continuing to move it around. I'm still just using my thumb on my first finger at this point. Now the pick is kind of pointing back toward the bridge. and then still just using my thumb and my first finger, I'm not using any other fingers, the pick is back to where it wants to be. Now, I've been playing guitar for a long time. Nitsudge definitely cannot do that, okay? So he really struggles when it's gone, and he finds using the, I find when I'm playing left-handed, sorry, I'm never sure whether it's just weird to refer to Nitsudge as a different person. It's, yeah, a little bit strange. Anyway, he finds that using that driving finger, the middle finger, to manipulate the pick is the right way to do it. But you can definitely learn to manipulate the pick while you play. Okay, so it isn't something that you should stop to do. You shouldn't be playing a song and then stop and go, I'll get my pick in the right place again and start again. You need to find a way to manipulate the pick while you play. You might find sometimes that you do have to have a little break, like a beat break. So strum, strum, oh, it's gone wrong. Now there we go, and it's back. So you have to learn to just do it real quick and then get back into the pattern. You don't want to stop the whole song because the pick's gone in a funny direction. Now, I would recommend that you experiment a bit with the picks. When you're doing your strumming practice or picking out different stuff, playing your songs, you want to experiment with using the thin pick and a medium pick and then the harder pick. So I use the white one, which is the real super thin pick that I use that's the easiest one. And again, when I'm doing the left-handed thing, that's the one that I want to go to if I'm doing a full-on strumming song. I've got this red one, which is like a medium ground. It's not as thick as the orange one that I tend to use.
Yeah, I think that's the one I have.
Most of my acoustic guitar playing when I'm playing right-handed.
This is the hard guy.
But it's still a little bit more forgiving. And then I use the orange one when I really want a difficult workout. So I would recommend that you experiment with all three different pick thicknesses to learn about this pick manipulation. It doesn't want to become frustrating. If you just jump to using the orange pick, the thickest of those, and you go to strum your songs, you're going to find that the engagement with the pick is stiff and uncomfortable, and it keeps getting tangled in, and you might find it kind of puts you off. And you don't want that, right? You need to try and do this incrementally a bit. So have a go at playing with the orange one, see how you get on. What you will find as well with a thicker pick is that you have to hold it lighter. So that's the challenge is when you're using a thicker pick is that you have to hold it lighter to have control, to have dynamic control, and to stop it getting tangled in the strings. But that's hard. That requires a greater degree of ability in pick manipulation. So you want to do this incrementally. Start with the thinnest one, move to the slightly thicker one for a bit, see how you get on. Can you manipulate the pick? How's it working for you? Have a go at using the thickest one and go, oh man, I can't do this at all. Or actually, no, this isn't too bad. I'm going to persevere. With the Nitsudge practice, I'm mostly using the orange pick now to try and force myself into learning to manipulate the pick. But I'm finding it a little frustrating, I must admit. So it's part of the journey for you now is trying to find that balance between what you can do that's fun,
middle ground,
keeping it so you can still play the songs, being able to pick the notes out individually for stuff like Wish You Were Here, those kind of riffs, or playing your scales where you almost certainly want to be using a thicker pick, but still enjoying it and having a good time. So when it comes to all of your practice, particularly the song practice, stay aware of pick manipulation. I don't recommend that you do exercises where you deliberately try and turn the pick around in your fingers while you play, because that's difficult, and I had to go at doing it with the left-handed thing. It was like, no way. Just that wasn't going to happen. So I don't recommend that you have a go at doing that. I mean, if you're a masochist, you might have a go at doing that, but I don't really think that's probably a wise way to practice. Just be aware of it. Again, a lot of these things that we're doing now are, here's a thing, here's something that's going to happen. Allow it to happen and be conscious of it, but don't think about it too much, because overthinking it can really spoil the pudding. So yeah, hope this will help you with some of your pick manipulation queries. That's difficult to say. I keep nearly stumbling over it every time. Anyway, I hope it helps, and I'll see you plenty more very soon. Bye-bye.
Yeah, I haven't used this in a bit now. Mainly because, I don't know, I just want, like, I don't want to overuse it, I guess. That's why I'm just using this. So the grip on this feels a lot better. It's less what's a word? I'm very tired. It's less smooth. Yeah. Alright, songs modulated. I don't know if I want to watch it. Let's just see. New guitar, new songs. New guitar skills, new guitar songs. Not new guitar, new songs. Wonderwall. Wonderwall. Brown Eyed Girl. Free Falling. Good Riddance. Patience. You shook me all night long. Of course. Yeah, let's see.
Hey, how you doing? Justin here.
Just
Today
so
we're
much
going to
fun
check
it
out
is,
the songs that I'd recommend that you check out for lesson 8. I hope this video finds you safe and well. We're in the middle of the coronavirus as I'm filming this, and while that one hasn't got me yet, the hay fever certainly has. Anyways, for this lesson, I'd recommend that you break your song practice up into 2 sections. So 5 minutes of revision, just practicing songs that you've done before, making sure that you keep hip with all your regular chord grips, that you're working on the changes, and keeping a kind of repertoire on the cooker all the time. So there's songs that you can play all of the way through, and that you're continuing to develop those songs as you progress. The other 10 minutes, another 10 minutes, so 15 minutes total working on songs. I would recommend that you work on some songs using these new stuck 3 and 4 chords for a whole heap of reasons. It's going to be really good for your hand. They sound really good. There's some classic songs that use these grips. There's lots of good reasons to be working on some songs. So what are you going to work on? Wonderwall is the obvious one, but if you're going to practice Wonderwall using these chords, you want to make sure it's simplified. Trying to work on the strumming pattern, which is one of the key things in that song. It's really difficult. Even when I'm doing my left-handed practice, I can't get that rhythm together with those chords while I'm doing this. I find it too difficult, and I'm fairly good at dealing with the rhythms, even left-handed, because I'm very aware of what the rhythms are. So you're probably going to find that simple, a little bit complicated to do the rhythm and the chords at the same time.
Man.
But there's definitely no harm in simplifying that rhythm right down and just doing very, very simple strumming, 1 or 2 strums per bar, even a couple of strums on each chord if you're doing it slow enough, that kind of thing. You'll still be able to play the song. It'll sound like it. It's really good practice. So Wonderwall's definitely one that I would consider. I really like Every Rose Has Its Thorn by Poison. It's a bit of a cheesy old tune, isn't it, from the 90s, but it's really good for practicing these particular chord grips. Stays on the chords just long enough for most of it, and then there's a few more faster changes there. When it comes to the bridge and it goes to the E minor, you can either continue using the stuck 3 and 4 chords, or you can move to using regular chords at that point. It really doesn't matter, whichever one you prefer the sound of. Brown Eyed Girl is another great one that you might like to have a go at, the Van Morrison classic, mainly because of the way the chords go in the chorus. It's not.
Yeah. He's just explaining why the songs are good. Okay. This is a preview. I can't control the volume. Sadly, it's gonna hurt my ears. Hold on.
I said maybe you're gonna be the one that saves me.
Right. Dun it. Is that a chord? Today's gonna be a day.
Nice to be able to
I
use
think
those
so,
grips.
maybe. But Wonderwall. Chords. Yeah, E, G, D. I was right. I was right. Today's gonna be a day. Today's gonna stupid ass Wonderwall. Today is gonna be day. Okay. What's that? Alright, Cylinder Riff. It'll take a while. I could call it a day. Using pentatonics. Never heard this song. Right? Dude, I really need to learn. I really need to listen to a lot more fucking classics. This is the one thing that I'm not doing.
Hey, how you
Just
doing? Justin here. Today we
listen
are
to
checking out a
song.
beginner version of Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd. Now this is almost exactly the same as the original. The original one's got a few more subtle things going on, extra strums, hammer-ons, where you pick one note and then hammer on the finger to make another note sound. But it's such an iconic and great guitar part that I wanted to include it as part of my beginner course. And so I had a go at doing it in my left-handed practice and discovered it was possible as long as I picked all the notes. It's not easy, but it's such a fun song to play that I'd really recommend that you have a go at doing it. If you're not sure about it, or you're not sure that you'll be able to do it and you want to have a bit of a laugh, then go and check out Nitsudge, which are the lessons of me learning to play guitar left-handed. They're over on the website, so you can watch me fumble my way through it left-handed as well.
Go to tabs.
So this song isn't easy for sure, but it is a lot of fun. Now, if you're following my beginner's course along, you will have been using a very thin pick most of the time, but you should know already that I'd recommend a slightly thicker pick when you get into playing individual notes. Now this particular riff, the intro riff for this song, is a mixture of single notes and chords, so you probably want to be using a thicker pick, like Orange Tortex is the thickness that I would recommend for this. Like a medium thickness pick is probably what you're going to need. If you use it too thin, you're going to have trouble picking the notes out individually. Now, the beginning of the riff is based off of a G stuck 3 and 4 chord. So grab that chord up and let's get to a close-up. Yeah, let's just start off with that much first of all. We're going to place our 3rd and 4th fingers down, ready for the stuck 3-4 G chord, okay? So the thinnest 2 strings, the 3rd fret, but we're not going to play them to start off with. We're going to use just our 2nd finger, 3rd fret on the thicker string, where it would be for the G chord. But note that we're not putting our 1st finger down yet, so just starting there, we're just going to play that one note with a down pick. Then we're going to play the open A string with a down pick. Then 1st finger going down where it would have gone for the G chord there on the 2nd fret of the 5th string. Then the open D string, and then 2nd finger is going down in the 2nd fret of the 4th string. Just used all down picks for this for now. You might choose other picking later on down the line, but as a beginner, down, 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 down. Now finishing there with the 2nd finger, it's going to be important at this point because then we're going to play the E minor 7. I'm just going to call it E minor. It's the stuck 3-4 version. For many of you, this is going to be very difficult. I find it really hard when I'm playing it left-handed as well. That is the most difficult part, is getting that stretch between those 2 fingers. Getting to that chord is the bit that's hard work. Making sure you keep your thumb right behind the neck. Don't try and let it grab over like that and cause more problems than it's worth and stop you developing the muscles you're going to need for your bar chords. Okay, so starting there with the G chord, but just the 2nd finger, not playing all the rest, just playing individual notes. 3rd fret thicker string, open, 2nd fret with the 1st finger, open 4th string, 2nd fret with the 2nd finger.
Okay.
Before we get any further, I'm going to need to stop for a second and talk a little bit about rhythm, because to count the rhythms correctly I need to do it in what's called 16th notes. Now, we've talked a little bit so far about 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, which is dividing a bar into 8 divisions. If
One
we
and
halve all of those, we end up having 16 divisions of a bar, which is what we call 16th note count. The regular count for it is 1 E-ander, 2 E-ander, 3 E-ander, 4 E-ander. So we still keep the 1, 2, 3 and the 4 in the same places we did when we counted just 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. In fact, the ands are in the same places as well. We've just inserted an E after the number and an A after the and. So we end up with 1 E and A, 2 E and A, 3 E and A, 4 E and A. But don't worry about it.
Yeah.
16th note counting is something I deal with in the intermediate course. I'm just giving you a little taster of it now so it makes sense when it pops up on the screen what it is, because some of you will have experience in music and experience with reading rhythms, so it makes sense for me to include it on the screen when I'm describing this stuff. But it's really, really important that you don't allow it to confuse you at this point. If you're a beginner, 16th note counting is should be beyond you. And there's a better way to do it, and that's by listening. So I'm often going to count the 16th note counts as I'm playing stuff, and I'll talk a bit about it. But it's really important that you just listen as well, because most of the great guitar players learned by listening much more than they did by thinking and reading.
Yeah.
Okay,
That makes
thinking
sense.
and reading is really important. Learning theory, learning how to read music, really good things to do, but not for beginners. You're much better off just using your ear.
Yeah.
Okay, so as I go
Listen.
through and I'm doing some of these
Listen.
counts and you see that stuff written on the screen, don't let
Listen.
it freak you out. Just listen to the rhythm
Listen.
and try and copy the rhythm of it. Don't worry too much about the rhythm. The one thing that you do want to maybe be aware of is where things are falling on the beat, when they're falling on the number, because you want to try and keep that pulse. If you're used to tapping your foot, you still want those strums and notes that are on the beat to fall right on the beat.
Yeah.
So, the count for this intro: 2, 3 and 4 E and 1. Okay, so it's really important that this last note is coming on beat 1 and it's starting on the and after 3. So 2, 3 and 4 E and 1. And then we've got this down, up, down with the
Yeah.
strumming hand. 2, 3 and 4 E and 1, 2 E and up, 3 E and. Okay, there's a complicated count for it, but again, just think of the pattern. You should know the sound of this if you're familiar with the song. And then
Yeah.
down, up, down. But can you see I'm going down, up, down? My hand is kind of moving continuously anyway. Down, up, down, 3, 4, 1, 2 E and up, 3 E and 4, 1, 2 E and up, 3 E and 4 E. I'm just trying to show you there that I'm keeping my hand moving continuously. That's the key thing here for getting those rhythms right. In the early stages, just be happy to get the strums with the right directions. So getting down, up, down. If you can get that without thinking of any other count, then you're going great. That will already be really difficult. At least I found that really difficult for myself, learning it left-handed. That was already like, wow, this is hard. And that's okay, particularly getting to this E minor chord with the big spread between the second and the third fingers. You know, that was really awkward. It was much more like this when I was doing it left-handed, where the fingers are all too close together. These want to be right up next to the fret, the third and fourth fingers. It's tricky. So again, from the beginning. Down, up, down. Now we're picking the third string. Right, so we're still doing a down pick, all up in the third string. Then the second fret of the fourth string, and then the open D. Down, up, down, down. Probably using your second finger there. Then the second finger's going over to where it belongs on for the G chord on the third fret of the thicker string. Up, down, down. We've got that strumming pattern. Down, up, down. strumming pattern in the right place, the right strums, the downs and the ups, is the thing that's going to make this doable as a beginner and make it sound right. If you get the strumming wrong, the wrong downs and the wrong ups, it'll inherently make the rhythm sound a little bit weird. It will be difficult. I can't say that often enough. I really struggled with this, but you can do it. Okay, it's just going to take a little bit of practice, a little bit of grit and some listening. Getting to know the tune so you know how it goes in your head is really going to help. Okay, I'm going to do it with the count now, just for those of you who can feel the count and can understand that as well. Here we go. 2, 3, and 4, E, and 1, 2, E, and 3, E, and 4, and 1. Somewhere different. So from the E minor, we've got 2nd fret on the 4th string, open D string, 2nd fret on the 5th string, and then the open A. And now we're putting 1st and 2nd fingers down on the 2nd fret of the middle 2 strings. This is an A. It's the stuck 3/4 chord. It's the A7 sus4 is its proper name. You can just think of it as a kind of an A. When we do the step down there from the E minor going to the A, we want to let that last note, which is the open A string, ring out while we strum the rest of the chord. We've got that same pattern, down, up, down. Then the next riff we've got almost like the beginning, but we're not playing that thicker string, so we're just starting off on the A string, down, down, up, down, 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 down. Now this one's a little bit tricky because we've got our E minor, down, up, down, and that down wants to be picking that one note individually. So rather than picking out that whole chord, your pick has to find that one note, the 4th string. And it's doing the little descending line to the A. We finish just with open A string, 1st finger 2nd fret, 5th string, open, and then to the G. Down, up, down, 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 up.
Okay.
So this is a tricky tune. Many of you are going to find this quite a struggle, but I really hope that you can enjoy it. There's so much to learn. This lovely mixture of picking out notes individually and then doing some strumming, learning slightly more complicated rhythms by ear, and or learning a little bit about 16th note counting if you want to go down that rabbit hole, which I don't recommend for beginners, but doesn't really hurt if you want to explore it a little bit. It's an all-time party favourite, this one. I don't think I've ever been to a party where there's been an acoustic guitar and people singing along that haven't. This song hasn't come out at some point. It really is that well known. It also sounds kind of cool by itself, so even if you're not a singer, you've got a song that you can play that people would recognise as being Wish You Were Here, and you go, yeah, I know that song, that's wicked, you can play that. It's also a lovely one if you're working with people that are slightly better than you, because then they can do the lovely little solo at the beginning there, and or improvise. As you get further into improvising, you can improvise really nicely in this song. And it's actually a pretty easy one to sing as well. It's not particularly testing as far as range goes, so many people will be able to sing or even talk sing this song. So there's loads and loads of great things about learning this tune, even if it's a bit of a battle. Now, I've just taken you through the intro, which is what I'm kind of proposing that you do for your practice for lesson 8, is using this song as a riff to practice. If you want to learn the whole rest of the song, I've got some other lessons on the site that will teach you all of the chords for the strumming parts of the song. They're not particularly difficult. I would simplify the D with the F sharp bass to a regular D chord if I would recommend it for a beginner to learn to play this one. But it's a beautiful song. I hope you'll check it out. I'm going to play it for you one more time, super slow with the count, that you might want to use as a little play along track.
Yeah, I think that's good enough. Can continue. I'll revisit them on my own time if I want to. I probably will, just so like to keep this series more genuine, I guess. I don't know. I'm just really tired right now. Let's go next. Notes and open position. Is it talking about fretboard?
Hey, how you doing? Justin here. Today we're going to do a bit of applied music theory and learn the notes in the open position. That's going to require a combination of the note circle and knowing the names of the notes of the open strings, which I'm hoping you're totally hip with now. Okay, you definitely need to know your E, A, D, G, B, E. Maybe Eddie ate dynamite, goodbye Eddie is the rhyme that you're using. Whatever the rhyme. I need you to know the open string note names, and I need you to know your way around the note circle. Okay, so where the tones and the semitones were and the sharps and flats, that thing. Okay, the thing that you probably went, yeah, I don't really need that. Well, now we're going to use it to apply it to the guitar to find all of the notes in the open position. So we're going to start off. This is the note E, which is the open string. Now, the next note we want to find is the note F. We're just dealing with the white notes, okay? Not worrying about sharps and flats yet, just where the white notes are. So if you look at your note circle and you see E to F,
yeah, I think I can probably name most of them. F, E, F, G, A. Wait, what's the first one? Okay, E, F, G. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, B, B, C, E, F, G. Yeah, it's the same. I can name all of those. Basically, yeah, I can name all of those. Oh, this one's the first three. Okay, that's easy. E, F, G, A, B, B, C, D, E, G, A. Oh, right, D, E, F, of course. What am I doing? E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, B, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, yes. Oh wait. Right, yeah. Yeah, I can name most of them. So I can skip this really. Now let's see how the practice looks like. Because I have my own like type for that one. So you want me to do? You want me to By great teaching on guitar enough. Okay, 20-minute practice breakdown. Exploring the stock chords, pentatonic. Okay. 1 minute changes, perfect changes, new strong practice. Okay. Downstrokes. Riff fun. Playing the new riff. When will you be ready to move on? I need 2 weeks. Damn. I can play the new stock chords. I can play pentatonic scale at a BPM. Can play the down notes BPM. Playing Wish You Were Here. Riff. Learn at least 2 songs. Yeah, I'm still learning one to wall. Learn an open position. Yeah, I've done that. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's all of them. So yeah, that's it for now. So I still haven't went into much of music theory. I think I might take the music theory lesson course before moving on to this. Module 8. I might do that practice. That's why I didn't check it off yet. I mean, that's tomorrow. So learn F chord. Okay. More technique. Chord book. C major scale. Okay. Pinky workout. Okay, this might be actually useful. Or not. I don't know. Yeah, this isn't really talking much about how to, practice ear training and much. But still, I think, yeah, depending on how the next one goes, this next lesson here, this might actually all be new. Depending on how this one goes, I might like halt this for a moment and go to the theory lesson, the free theory lesson for a bit and just check out what's up, right? Yeah. Because that's what I really want. So I really want to understand right now. I think my techniques are fine for the first 3 grades. But yeah. And these are pretty short as well. So this is only 40 minutes. So I might do a long session tomorrow, depends, right? If I feel like it. If not, then so be it. I'm gonna do the next module first in the 2nd grade. Right, I'm gonna do the module 9 here. Let's do this first. And if I feel like it, I'll do the music theory lessons. Yeah. So that's the plan for next stream. I guess I'll try and stream early. Not that it matters when I stream, it's just that, just seeing like how I, ow, that hurt, how I go and progress or whatever. But yeah, that's that, I guess. Again, I don't know how I'm gonna make this public or whatever, but it's just that as much as I want to share it to people, I'm doing this for myself mostly, so it's gonna be me watching myself and just message for myself mostly. But yeah, that's that. Is there anything else? I'm very tired. That's it. Yeah, it depends what I do next. Is what I'm gonna do next. So whenever next room comes, I'm just gonna go through this, obviously. And then this one, right? I feel like it's go to the next one. Yeah. Again, thoughts on this is just I'm still not getting what I want, but I'm still learning new things that is probably gonna be useful in the future. So yeah, that's about it. I'm just gonna end it. I'm just gonna end it now. I'm really tired. Alright. Have a good one.